Here I am standing at, I guess it's the side or the back fence, however you want to look at it. What I have done so far is I've taken the fence down. My intention was to go back here and clear it out, but as I got to the property line, I realized there's only 4 feet. And there's not really anything that I can do with 4 feet. This is where I was going to plant my trees. I was going to replant all of the fruit trees over here because from where I'm looking at it, it looks like I've got 30 to 50 feet. But our property line doesn't go over there, and we are not allowed to access any of that land. I called this city and I checked. Ooh, it's getting warm. So unfortunately, I am not going to be able to do the orchard behind me. So what I'm going to have to do is just put the fence back up and make sure that it is more secure this time, make sure nothing's going to get through it. So I'm anticipating a 8-foot fence this year. Last year it was right about 6 feet. Really, it was about 5.5 feet. And the deer they just hopped it like it was nothing. I had a lot of issues last year and the year before with deer and vermin, which I'm assuming would be raccoons or possums, cats, stray animals. That's what's around here. So what I need to do is make a very strong reinforced fence that nothing's going to be able to get through it. So instead of clearing this spot out behind me, what I did was went probably 1.5 feet back, cleared off as many vines as I possibly can. We have a lot of wisteria vines, and they just grow everywhere, and they get quite big, quite large, and they will completely cover over. Last year they covered this fence over completely. It was a good probably 10 or 15 feet in the air, and the shade from where the sun comes, the shade would stop right at the end of this bed, so it didn't block any of these 4 beds off. You're in one of them. But what it did was it shaded this whole spot. So what I did was removed this long bed behind me. And this was one of the first beds that I put in here. I don't know if that was entirely a mistake. I kind of would like to still have the growing space, but what I decided was, okay, I cannot put my orchard back here. That's fine. I don't really have anywhere to put all the trees that I'm growing in pots though. And I don't have this bed here anymore. So I'm just gonna line the trees up right here, temporary. I'm gonna move all the wood that's left from this bed that was here. And that's kind of the project that I'm starting on today, is I need to move the trees and I need to do this fence. So I think, so on the agenda today is fencing, and I have to move these trees. I gotta get them out of the middle of the garden because I'm trying to do something over there. So fence, trees, let's get started. Very large trees that have been cut down. Our intentions with these trees is to use the wood for projects. We have probably 5 or 6 really decent, good sized trees. I think they're all oak. One of them is red oak. This one right here, this is a white oak. But we plan on doing things with them, making maybe some seating logs to sit on by a fire, do some more cutting boards, some woodworking projects, wood burning for the kids. I can use a lot of the trees that have fallen for stakes for archways, for the fencing. By cutting these trees down, we're not just going to leave them. We're going to cut them up as we need them. Firewood, I mean, the possibilities with this are endless. So we are definitely using everything that we're cutting down. Not only that, but we are planting more trees. So I'm going to be moving the trees from here and adding a couple to the right side. Yeah, it'll be the right side of the garden. The way I'm looking at it now, it's left. Now this is the right side of the garden. Normally this side is completely shaded, but because we cut down all of these trees, it is getting sun. And this sun means that we're going to get more light in the garden so we can grow more things and get a better harvest. This is the section that I fixed earlier. There's still a bunch of vines all over that stump that's there. And the fence is still, you know, it still looks pretty crappy. Being honest here. Gotta fix this, and then I pulled that whole part of the fence down. Now, I did not pull, it's so weird, I didn't pull these 3 down because they were fine where they were. But everything else was not. So it went. Okay, so the plans for the garden. We talked about how we cannot make that area an orchard. It's just not enough space. So what I am doing, I think, is moving the orchard, the trees, to the far right side of the garden. Now, if you've been around here long, you'll know that that side of the garden is completely shaded, except for 3 hours. It gets like 3 or 4 hours of sun. Well, not anymore, because the trees have been cut down. And because the trees have been cut down, I can't just leave them cut down. I have to plant another tree. So I'm going to plant more trees over there, and that's going to be our orchard area. It's winter, and I've been counting, and it gets 8 hours of sunlight over there. It's winter. So we're probably hoping for 11 to 14 hours of sunlight in this garden in the summer. That's so exciting. 3 years we've had this garden, and I've been struggling with 5 hours of sunlight. I have a good feeling about the 2023 garden season. I am feeling frustrated and a little overwhelmed with it, but I know that I can do it. I do it all on my own, and it's a lot, and I think that's probably why I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed. Yes, my husband did come cut the trees. Occasionally, my kids are helpful. But this isn't their thing. None of them are interested in the garden. None of them are interested in homesteading. This is my thing that I'm very interested in, so I'm not going to ask them to help if they're not interested. Maybe we'll get to a point where they will show more interest and they'll want to be out here more. And you've already met, if you've been around here long, you know who Emma and Landon are. Emma's 9, Landon is 10, Jaden is 12. He doesn't come on here very often. He's not very comfortable in the camera and talking in front of the camera, so I don't ask him to. I never want to infringe upon the kids' feelings. If you don't want something, simply say it, and it won't happen. If you do want to be a part of something, let's all be a part of it and do it together. Those are kind of my views on that. I got a little carried away. But anyway, they're not all that entirely helpful, except for whenever they want to be, or for somebody else. This is about a 5,000 square foot garden space, give or take. It's oddly shaped, and it's all sloped downhill. So it is very difficult to grow in this area. But with the trees being down now, and there's going to be more sun, so I think that things will work out just fine. We have so much garlic right now that is growing and coming up. A couple of onions that I've seen. A couple of months ago, I planted 271 cloves of garlic throughout the garden. And I think it was like 70 onions, something like that. But they're growing. Even the daffodils are growing. It's like spring is coming. The weeds are starting to come through. There's a bunch of weeds. So what I need to do is get wood chips. All these trees, but I don't have any wood chips? Well, that's because I don't have a wood chipper. And they cost $350 a day to rent them. And I can't get them back here because they're too large. And I do not have the access space to get any machinery back here. So everything has to be done by hand. That is one thing that I don't really care too much about my garden. I do not like the garden because if I were to put like a pros and cons list, con would be it's very difficult to get back here. It's downhill, super shaded, but I think we've fixed that one, so we can take that one off the cons list. That's it. I can only think of 2. Yeah. Oh, the vermin, the deer. and, you know, the living animals that come back here and like to dig up all my stuff. But hopefully with a strong enough fence, better than last year's fence, we'll be able to keep them out. And that's the goal. Grow food, keep out the vermin. I was walking up, the camera died. I don't know where it stopped off at. So I think my goals for this year, they would be to grow food, have a very strong fence. It's the goal, seriously, to have a strong enough fence to keep these deer out. I want to grow a bunch of flowers this year. Yeah, for me, I want to grow flowers. I want to grow a lot of sunflowers, but I'm looking to get into selling some flowers this year. Not a lot. Man, there's a lot of birds. Got birds like all over. And I also, which I think we're at number 4 now, I put my fingers down and lost count. I also need to fix the greenhouse. Now, I did not plan on even having the greenhouse this year, but I have really decided that, well, I want to have a greenhouse because I don't like having all the seed starting stuff up here at the front of the garden. This is the sitting space. I'm going to put a fireplace over there, and I do not want to have all those tables with seedlings on them. So I'm going to fix the greenhouse, and I have to move the trees. So my plans keep changing for this garden. You know, things change, plans change, got to stay adapting. That is all that I have for this video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next time here on Hollowacres Homestead.